Hi everybody. Welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It's been like a month, honestly. If you don't know what's been going on with the show, some things happened in Joe's life, very personal. A close family member passed away. So he's going to be kind of on hiatus because he's got to be helping out with his family right now for a little while. So I'm going to try to have the show occasionally right now. Yes, the names are hidden because I'm lazy and I'm using the old three-person setup lightning. But I'm going to try people have gone, talk about some things, keep the show going for a little bit here before I figure out if... I always talk about the show needing some kind of change or something, but I just haven't worked it out. And if you don't know, I'm sick, so don't mind me being not 100%. I will be your 75% that you need to run this show. So, but yeah, welcome. We got two guests on, special hosts. I got Momo.
Hello.
And I got Umber.
Heyo.
And we're going to talk about some stuff, because it's been a busy month of tabletop, but actually, I gotta say, like, not as busy as I would think, because, like, when I went back over and checked, like, a lot of, like, what was going on, I probably could have made shows for every week, but I feel like none of them were great shows except for, like, a couple of topics here and there. And there were a few that I could have grabbed with, you know, Joe or something a little easier, but... Anyway, it's been a busy month. And we're going to start, and I'm going to throw this docket into chat for anybody that's paying attention to that. Which is an awful docket, may I note, but it gives the idea. We're gonna do some broad strokes here. So I'm going to start with one that I know my guests here will have opinions about, because this is stuff for non-Magic players. Magic news. And we're going to start with the big one. Magic's Universes Beyond series. So, Universes Beyond is a plan that they have to do effectively products outside the normal Magic the Gathering universe. Now, they're not including them going to Faerun this summer, because that's a Wizards of the Coast product, but they're including anything else that they have, because the two things that they've announced that they are doing are, of course, Warhammer 40k and Lord of the Rings. So now you can have Gandalf in your team, with one ring, yeah. Or some Space Marines.
I can't wait.
I will say, having Gandalf is good and all, but have you considered having one of his Emperor's glorious Space Marines for the Emperor?
No.
In your deck.
The best joke was, someone said you could have a deck where Spider-Man hangs out with Darth Vader and Gandalf as you're taking on stuff.
Hell yeah.
You know, what this really gives us, out of everything this does, what this really gives us, is the opportunity to finally lay to rest who is stronger, Gandalf or a Space Marine. And I'm pretty sure it is going to be the 8-foot-tall superhuman with a bolt gun that fires basically grenades.
Yeah, but like...
Blessed by the Holy Emperor of mankind.
Mm-hmm. I mean, that's true and all, but like, it's Gandalf though. He can just come back. Like, honestly, probably as many times as he wants. He's older than Middle Earth. He's older than the universe of Lord of the Rings.
Even interfere in the lands of men. What is he going to do? He sits there and guides people because he's a wimp.
No,
Sauron had the right idea.
He's gonna make sure Frodo doesn't get killed by the Space Marine in Lord of the Rings.
I'm Gandalf the White, and I've got my long beard, and I'm so fancy. And then you got Sauron. Bitch, I got power. I'm gonna use it. I'm taking over this world. Screw this nonsense.
So yeah,
that's who I'd want in a Magic deck. I want Sauron and a Space Marine.
So the big thing about this is it's not going to be standard legal, which is their new sets come out. That's their standard set, which. Okay, great. But it's technically going to be their legacy decks, which are play any Magic card from any time period, and Commander. And Commander is the magic word that I'm going to use now, because Commander is the most popular version of Magic right now, period. And it's going to be legal in that.
I don't hate the idea of including Warhammer as a thing into more products. I love Warhammer, but I gotta ask, why the sci-fi one for the fantasy card game? That's my big question. But then there's also a Walking Dead and Godzilla set.
Yeah,
so
my rebuttal was going to be that.
who cares? I guess. But I mean, as long as the tower there's some Tau cards, I guess I'm alright.
Well, like,
yes.
Godzilla was at least just fancy skins. You know, they were pre-existing cards that just got the Godzilla makeover. Walking Dead was their own thing. Now, I don't know what they're doing for the Lord of the Rings product, but they have announced that the 40K, they're going to make commander decks for them. So I'm assuming each commander deck will probably be like a faction, maybe?
I could see that.
I'd assume chapters or factions.
I think what they would end up doing is probably maybe 1 or 2 Space Marine chapters. They would probably do an Adeptus Mechanicus, maybe, because those are kind of the popular ones. They might do a Necron one, or a Tyranids.
I respect your opinion, but as an avid Warhammer 40K fan, have you paid attention to Game Workshop's MO in the last decade?
No, because they ruined Fantasy Warhammer.
The decks are going to be, have some Primaris Marines. You didn't like the Primaris Marines? My apologies. Have some more Primaris Marines. Oh, I'm sorry, those are the exact same thing. Here, I've got the solution. Third deck, Primaris Space Marines.
Lightning's got the correct idea. Sexy Space Elves.
Dark Eldar are not going to be there.
Give me some sexy Space Elves.
Not a chance.
But, like, I think I do think Warhammer does fit a card game. I will say that it works.
I mean, it does. It's started. It's already a tabletop game.
Yeah, it's already a tabletop game.
A card game out of it.
Started a really good tabletop game too.
I'm not a Magic player. I've seen a bit of it here and there. I've watched it. Looks interesting enough, right? But I've never really been into card games. For me, it's more of the cynical view of it. Of just, well, not really cynical. Games Workshop's been pushing more and more in the last, I don't know, 5-10 years or so, getting more its name out there, getting the Warhammer brand out there more mainstream, and it's been going pretty well. I don't really, I guess this is meant more to bring Magic players into 40K than 40K players into Magic, but
that's possibly true. It could be both, though.
That's what Wizards wants. They want to kind of like be like, we can introduce people either way, you know?
That's the thing. The follow-up there is that there's already a lot of crossover between those two groups. A lot of people who play 40K already play or have played Magic, and vice versa. I think it's a cool crossover, I guess. I don't know. I don't really play Magic, so I don't really know what adding Warhammer to it will do, but I don't really get the point of it.
Well, I think the point of it is it's Hasbro, and Hasbro wants money.
Yeah. And Hasbro apparently...
Hasbro does own Wizards.
Yeah, and I do know for a fact, when I was looking at this, that Hasbro has had the license to make Lord of the Rings board games.
Yep.
So they do have that license. So that means they could easily, since they already have that license, shove it over to Wizards and be like, hey, make a Lord of the Rings. And the thing is, it's not even a Lord of the Rings, like, the Warhammer 40K, they're commander decks. Okay, great. You know, those are, like, they feel a little one and dunny. They're, like, pre-made commander decks. You know, I'm granting there are probably going to be a lot of original cards for it. It'll be kind of neat. We can see how they work. Lord of the Rings is supposed to be, they're actually saying, like, an actual set under this entire thing. So, I don't know.
The set, Lord of the Rings, the prospect of Lord of the Rings being an actual set over Commanders, that interests me more. But I haven't played Magic seriously in about 5 years. And this isn't, to me, this isn't something that brings me back into a very expensive hobby.
Yes.
I don't even think Fantasy Warhammer could at this point, because Games Workshop, if you've ever talked to me, you know I have such a raging hatred for Age of Sigmar, because it kind of destroyed the world I really liked. I really liked the classic fantasy world. That's gone.
Well,
they're bringing it. They're bringing it back.
It took them several years, but they finally realized that the people going, "Hey, this is shit. This is just ground marines.
Yep.
This sucks. Where's our fantasy?" Are overwhelming the majority of people that liked fantasy in the first place.
They are. I should mention. DW is bringing back the old world in. At some point, probably in like 5 years, there will be a collection of all the old stuff alongside Sigmar. And they obviously have the video game, the Total War game, which is old stuff as well. Although they're going to new stuff now, which doesn't really interest me that much, but that's not tabletop.
Again, it's... I don't... If you look at the games and the media that has been produced around fantasy, it's still entirely exclusively old world stuff. Like even Total War, the Vortex campaign in Total War 2 is more of a like alt history take on what happened. It doesn't have anything really to do with Age of Sigmar.
Yeah, that's what I mean. They're still making old world products, and they are going to have a tabletop, an updated tabletop version for the actual old world, to release alongside Sigmar, so they can make more money, obviously.
So,
but that's 5 years away at this point.
I'm going to interrupt just for a second here because I would need a little bit of explaining because I'm very noob on Warhammer information. Yep. I know that
boy, you have the two best people.
I know. Yeah, there's two versions of Warhammer really that kind of exist. There's the 40K, which sounds like the sci-fi version of it, which is like, I guess more a little bit sci-fantasy because it's supposed to be like dwarves, elves, kind of a space marine kind of thing, isn't it?
Sci-fantasy is a good way to put it.
I would say, yeah, that's a good one, and it's like incredibly grimdark.
Yeah, and then you've got like the old-timey versions because I'm more familiar for anything Warhammer with Vermintide. That's where I saw some people play through some stuff on that.
That's fair.
Which is supposed to be like the fantasy Warhammer version of stuff.
Yeah, fantasy's the one I prefer because the one I have the more happy memories with, the more experience with, because I played it a lot in uni. And also it's got like some good characters. 40K is something I've always wanted to get into, but there's so much that it's very daunting.
Basically, the rundown between the two of them. Way back when, they were technically in the same universe. Technically, fantasy was a prelude to 40K. They ixnayed that fairly quickly because it made no sense.
Yeah.
Warhammer Fantasy is its entire own thing. It's fantasy. It started as fantasy wargaming, minigaming.
Yeah.
Which, it's got magic, it's got knights and elves,
fucking elves.
Why couldn't they have used that instead of the actual 40K then?
I think it's because 40K admittedly has kind of always been the more popular of the two.
Two parts why. That would be part one. 40K has pretty much always been more popular, at least in North America. I mean, Games Workshop is a British company.
I think the fantasy one's more popular in Europe.
I don't know if it still is. I think 40K did.
It used to be. That would make sense. It's been a while since Sigmar.
The other reason is that I think it was like 10 years, somewhere in that range ago. They had fantasy, and they decided that, fantasy is not as popular and bringing in as much money as 40K. So we're just basically going to end the world and recreate it sort of in the style of 40K, but in fantasy. Turns out people hated that.
Yeah,
but Games Workshop has been loath to admit that they made a mistake. So, aside from the video games like Vermintide, which you've played, which takes place in the end times of the old world,
the Total War games, which are fantastic.
Yeah, basically, you had fantasy, then the end times happened, which is basically when everything starts going to shit and the world ends. That's when Vermintide takes place.
Yeah.
Realistically, everything you do in Vermintide makes no difference, or made no difference, because the world just ended, although, again, as Momo said, they've been retroactively being like, hey, we made a mistake,
they're
going to admit it. So the old world's kind of still a thing.
Yeah.
But they still don't really want to put old fantasy at the forefront, so that's probably why they didn't use that for the collab. And Age of Sigmar generally isn't well looked upon.
Yeah.
But between Age of Sigmar and 40k, they probably went, 40k is probably the one that people actually at least show some interest in a collab with Magic.
Now, if this is the problem that I really have here. If I'm talking about the properties they have under Universes Beyond so far. Okay, Godzilla. Yes, it's a more modern day setting, but they're giant monsters. I'll give you that, like, they're in Magic, they have giant titanic monsters. Okay. The Walking Dead, again, modern day setting, but I'll give you, it's like kind of normal people versus a kind of supernatural force, in this case, like a zombie or something.
Yeah.
I'll give you that. Lord of the Rings. It's a fantasy setting. If you look at Magic, at very most, the farthest they've done is some steampunk stuff. Other than that, it's all pure fantasy. And now you're going something that probably leans more on the sci-fi than the fantasy.
I mean,
it just doesn't.
Very, very high sci-fi. Like, sci fantasy was a good way to describe 40k, but it does technically have very advanced technology.
It does, yeah. Also, like,
this will be a massive step forward tech-wise for Magic.
I mean, they've got. Correct me if I'm wrong. 40k, they have ships the size of planets.
Yes.
In 40k.
Yes.
That's a huge step forward. I don't know if it's necessarily a good one.
Again, I don't play Magic. I don't really know how this will affect Magic. At least from the Warhammer side, I don't really see the point of it. It doesn't seem like... Because again, I'm a massive Warhammer fan, as much as Games Workshop has bent me over the table countless times.
Yep.
I still love the franchise, and I don't really get the point of this collab. Like, when Tantus mentioned it just before the stream, I just kind of went, what?
Yeah.
Because it's neat. I like the idea of having a card, like a Warhammer 40k card game. That sounds cool. A Magic 40k card game? If you would just come to me in this stream and say, hey, 40k is getting a card game, I'd be like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. Hopefully it comes out well. I'm kind of curious to play it. But hearing, 40k is having a crossover with Magic, I have zero interest in. I don't get the point.
Yeah, I mean, as long as I get my toaster fucker deck at the end of the day, I'm fine with it. So,
Adeptus Mechanicus for anyone that isn't in the know.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Mars will burn.
I gotta say there, the part of it that I can say okay, the thing is, because they're making pre-made commander decks, it's very easy to come in because it's a pre-made deck. You don't have to edit it. Theoretically, most times that they make decks like that, they're actually pretty decent. You can just play them straight out right. There is a couple of complaints I've always had about this kind of thing. Reprints. I said when The Walking Dead, when they did that, they will probably never reprint these cards again. These might be another situation where if the deal breaks down, they're not reprinting them ever. You get these once, one and done. That drives up the secondary market, which Wizards knows about, even though they claim to ignore it. They know about the fucking secondary market.
For Magic, it's so expensive on that secondary market.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing I was going to bring up, and Lightning brought up a part of it in chat, is balancing issues. Because, as far as I'm aware, not just as far as I'm aware, Magic has, obviously, Magic, right?
Yeah.
And like Lightning said, Magic is... the magic in Magic is sort of like D&D. The most powerful spells are, city ending.
Yeah.
But in Warhammer 40k, a single spaceship, not a fleet, not an armada, a single spaceship can be a planet destroyer.
Yeah.
And the majority of spaceships in 40k are planet destroyers. Yeah. So, even putting that aside, even going, okay, well, there aren't going to be spaceships as cards. You still are going to have the issue of how the hell do you balance a transhuman, superhuman being that's, 6, 7, well, more than 6, 7 to 9 feet tall in hyper advanced, just insane power armor with guns that are basically automatic grenade launchers. How do you balance that against some guy with a shield, a sword, and maybe some magic?
Don't know if you necessarily could, but I'd imagine they'll find a way, and the way it'll be done is they'll make Space Marines much weaker than they actually should be.
I mean, they'll find a way.
Is
they have
not
to.
Not great.
But is it going to be satisfying?
Probably not. Not for Warhammer people, at least.
Not for Warhammer.
I mean, even if you bring in the arguably lowest tech faction, the Astra Militarum, the Imperial Guard, as they used to be called, and they should still be called, because Astra Militarum is fucking stupid, but whatever, Games Workshop, you do you. Who are rank and file normal humans. They got some body armor, which, by our standards, is phenomenal. Like, standard normal human body armor, carapace armor, if you brought that to our timeline right here, right now, it would stop anything you threw at it. Up to and including some tank shells. And their standard weapon, the last gun, if you brought that to our timeline, again, it would go through anything we could throw at it. Up to and including tank armor. But you're still putting that against Magic universe things, which...
Yeah.
I have to say, like, it's one of those things is that I always pretend Magic is balanced. It's one of those things. It's like, if you look at how some of these creatures are displayed or some of the powers they're supposed to have, we just pretend they're balanced. They really are balanced mechanically for the game, but not really balanced. Like, if there's a dude who can shoot, like, mass amounts of lightning bolts and, like, destroy entire things, he should probably be a lot more powerful and do more than 3 damage or something to something.
Probably.
But he doesn't. He does, like, 3. So I feel like, lore-wise, they're probably going to balance things around a general idea of balancing it against the kind of general power level of Magic. And they're not going to allow the lore to kind of fuzz things over.
Yeah, because I mean, mechanically they'll balance it, but it won't be satisfying to people who like Warhammer, because Warhammer is everything in Warhammer is destructive. It's powerful. Yeah. It's bigger than it really needs to be.
Everything in 40K is turned to 11, basically. It's all over the top. And that's where it comes down. That's where my concern lies. It will be balanced, because it has to be balanced for the game to work. But will it be satisfying?
I mean, and if we're even going to talk about mechanical balance, I played, like, a game of MTG Arena, like, yesterday, and won 4 games because I just played Best the Sea God, the Chronicles, or whatever they're called. Those things are horribly unfucking balanced, and those are in Standard.
Yeah, the thing about those is that, like, I think they've attempted to balance a lot of stuff in their own Standard and stuff like that, and that's an entirely another argument about they're always looking for something. Like, I feel like they're less now looking to ramp up power, but unfortunately it feels like sometimes they always end up ramping up power by accident and stuff.
I mean, when I can play a card that taps all your creatures until, like, your next turn, and then it gives me an 8/8 Kraken, and then the turn after that I get to steal one of your powerful creatures, and your creatures just don't untap. That's an issue.
Yeah, well,
but that's was always going to exist in Magic, because that's existed before.
I mean, they've reached a point in time where they're not balancing so badly that there was... I can't remember. I don't know if it was Theros Beyond Death or one of these latest sets. There was a band of a number of cards in between when it was released for banned. Arena and when the paper cards were released. Before the paper cards came out, they had a ban. Which means that if I'm buying those cards to play Standard, I'm buying something I can't play with.
Yep.
Right away. That's bad. That's how terrible they've had some things lately for when it comes to balancing issues.
I think it's because they're focusing really heavily on Arena itself, because all the cards come out there first. I think, at least.
They want to be Hearthstone, and they're not.
Yeah, they're really trying to be Hearthstone, and they're not going to be Hearthstone.
No, they shouldn't be. I think it's much better as a paper game. It always has been. It's always done its job. I just don't know. But, getting back to this, Universes Beyond, like, even, like, we're talking about things like, when we talk about Lord of the Rings, yes, I'm not going to compare Gandalf and, and all them to, let's say, the Marines and stuff.
To the Emperor of Mankind.
Yeah, but you have things like, you have Sauron, the One Ring, stuff like that are very powerful beings in and of themselves, maybe made of like huge amounts of magical energy, which in theoretical ways could compete with other stuff of similar, you know, like what does that mean for, you know, building decks that way too?
I mean, we're missing the point here. If they ever make a Tom, what's his name, Tom Bombadil or whatever,
oh god,
if they ever make him a card, there's no balance. You play that, you win. He's God.
Look, I'm gonna be honest, I have never actually read the book, so I don't even know. I know he exists, but I don't know who he is or what he does.
He's the most powerful being that exists in that world, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
It's end of the day, I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. I guess it's interesting, but it's realistically it's corporate nonsense. They're gonna do what they want to do.
It's Hasbro at the end of the day wanting more money, and Game Workshop wanting more money.
Lord of the Rings, good fit. 40K, again, don't play Magic, like 40K. Don't really think it's a good fit, but who knows?
Oh,
even Lord of the Rings, I'll say like thematically good fit, but still I'd rather not.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. You know, I don't mind the D&D one because it's like a Wizards product, and that's kind of neat. They already have like the
they've already merged D&D and Magic anyways, so
yeah, so I didn't mind that set. Other than that, like if you want to do this stuff, just explore similar worlds. If you want a plane that's like a sci-fi plane, great, make it that there is one. Okay, maybe it's a place where like magic doesn't exist as much, and you know, like they rely a lot more on artifacts and stuff. You could come up with an interesting storyline there of like, you know, planeswalkers showing up at like, what the fuck's going on here? You know, but I don't know.
What if we get a Spelljammer Magic set before we get a Spelljammer 5e book?
If they do that, I'm gonna. They haven't even like confirmed how like that the Faerun set mixes with Magic. They're just like, we're doing it, but we're not really like confirming it's technically in the Magic multiverse or not. We're just sort of doing. So I don't even know if they'll have planeswalkers, unless they make them like less literal, like more like they have planar magic. So it would be like, what's his face?
Planar travelers and maybe some of the demigods.
Yeah. They might be able to pull it off that way and just use the same kind of card format, but
yeah, they could do that. And I mean, I'll be honest, I think, and I don't really, I'm not the biggest fan of Faerun. I think Forgotten Realms is a little too used. I think there are other canon D&D settings that fit better.
I would agree, but I know that they have to do Faerun first because it's the popular one.
It's the main one.
Yeah. It's the one I use a lot of times because it's the one that there's a lot of lore about that then I don't have to make that shit up. You know, it's much easier for me to Google stuff, find out about a place, and then be like, I'm adapting it to how I want, using what's laid down.
Compared to if you would use Ravenloft pre-Ravenloft book, you would only have information on Barovia. There's like nothing else has been written yet.
Yeah. I mean, there was one other thing I did want to mention about Magic, but it's just it's a mild thing because it's kind of a neat thing. Is they have Time Spiraled Remastered coming out, which is kind of cool. Which is actually a product line I think is pretty good. As a product line, what it is they're taking an old block of their cards, they're compressing it down from those 3 sets to 1 set, and originally they were doing this on Arena. They physically are releasing Time Spiral.
Oh, nice.
So it's reprints of cards people want.
Reprints
from those dies. Yeah. And the thing is, like, they're also doing something really neat that they're putting in cards in the set in the old style of the original Magic cards format, and it's from throughout history. So you might find a card that was from a much newer one in the old style.
Nice.
Yeah. So I mean, that's a neat product. That's a good product. I like this product. I would like
that one.
More.
That one makes sense. If I played Magic, I would purchase that. I would not purchase 40K cards if I played Magic.
Yeah, like I might purchase the 40K because they're just commander decks, and the commander decks I tend to purchase if I have extra money. But I don't know. It's on my list of maybe. But we did bring up something that we can move on to our next topic. We can talk about Ravenloft.
Yay!
Because they announced coming out. When the hell does it come out? May 18th?
May, right?
Yeah, May. Van Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. So, I mean...
I am mostly excited, mostly because I finally get to see the other domains, and they've announced there's at least 30 of them.
Oh, that's so nice. I couldn't remember all the domain. Like if you go back to 2nd edition, they have a lot of these.
I think there were like somewhere between 15 and 20 original domains. They're expanding on that. I'm very interested to see what those other ones are going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm also glad they're finally rewriting the Vistani to not be a racist stereotype.
I mean, like, I feel like the Vistani as a stereotype were pretty bad, as they were supposed to be gypsies. But
very
like,
blatantly bad compared to other things.
I feel like you have a fine line sometimes with this kind of thing. Like, if I'm talking other gypsy stereotypes, like the Ravenos from Vampire the Masquerade.
Yeah.
50% of them are gypsies, the other 50% are from India. But, like, you talk about that, when they originally were talking about them, they were all gypsies. The Indian faction was one that was developed a lot more over time, you know. And it was the idea that, like, they were just, you know, a lot of them were of Romani descent.
Yeah. It's a weird one, because so much of old D&D is these unfortunate stereotypes sort of put onto fantasy races. And wizards, they are
a classic example.
Orcs, drow even are a very, very good example of how not to write a race in D&D. But they're at least trying to fix it, which I think is good.
I feel like certain writing has always been better than others because of it. Like, if we go back to the old, like, really stereotypical stuff, and unfortunately there's a lot of weird stereotypes in the old races, you know, which they fixed in certain ways, and some of the enemies, too.
Yeah.
But even, like, it's the problem with, like, things like... let's go back to, like, Faerun and Toril, the planet there. It's an allegory for Earth. There's a lot of weird things there that are very analogous to Earth in a lot of places. They've got their version of Asia with various things. They've got their version of the Middle East. The Middle East people have airships. That's kind of neat.
That's fine.
Like, they have the version of Africa where their African jungle has fucking dinosaurs. Wasn't that one of the things that people would always talk about deep in the Congo, like dinosaurs or stuff? Or like,
I think that was like an old myth before anyone
it
really
was
explored.
A very old myth. Yeah, it was. But I remember that as like a very terrible old myth or something that people would talk about. Some of those like old classic like terrible dinosaur movies have people going into places like that and finding dinosaurs. I blame you, 60s and 50s.
Yeah. It's a lot of that 50s and 60s cultures. It's being slowly taken out, but it's still there. It's going to always be there to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
For what I hate talking about Tasha's, but for what it's worth, I do think what they have tried to do with the lineages is an okay step forward, but they need to expand on that in a more unique way than what we're getting with the UAs, because the lineage UAs are kind of boring and generic.
Yes, and I feel like I agree with you that there are some of the things for like lineages / like races and stuff, or I'm sorry, species, because that's I'm gonna argue that for a lot.
You can always I think they're interchangeable, but I'm old with D&D.
I know, and it's what they called it, but I feel like it's really more appropriate.
It's always going to be fantasy races to me, because that's what I kind of grew up with.
I know, and it's what I grew up with too, so it's very hard to get away from it. But I feel like the way that people are looking at it now, it's not great. because again, like I feel like they went too generic with Tasha's and stuff.
Yeah.
And going a little bit more generic is not bad, you know.
Like I'll say this: the Dampire, I ran a one shot with a player with it. It's cool. It functionally works, and you can still be a human or an elf, and you can still have that flavoring. But it needs a little. It needs a lot of player input and a lot of DM input to make it interesting and unique.
Mm-hmm.
Because Lindsay, I love Lindsay and her weird characters. I sat down with Lindsay for like an hour and being like, okay, how can we make this an interesting thing? And we came up with, use these tables that are provided. Just don't pick blood, because that's just standard vampire. On the tables provided, there's like, you can feed off of dreams, off of psychic energy, off the color of someone's skin. That's more unique than it just being like blood. I think that's good and interesting.
That last one's a little bit of an oof.
Yeah, that's an oof, and I hope that's gone. But it's interesting, but it doesn't do enough for me. It's still, at the end of the day, you're still a vampire.
The color thing, I think... Did I talk about this show that it was like... We said it was oof or something, but we're also like, maybe they're meaning the literal color
I think
rather
like
color.
not your, like, if you're pale, like the color of your skin from, like, when you die... You go from flesh color to corpse color. I think that's what they're meaning. It's worded badly.
Yes.
Like Lightning said, like Adventure Time where Marceline bites the apple and it turns gray.
It's still something that you should probably just avoid entirely. Switch it to they feed on life force.
Well, you could say feed on color in general.
Yeah,
that might be
or that they, you feed on a person's time, how much time they've remaining, so they move more towards that corpse.
There's quite a few on the UA that you can pick from.
But then
and the thing is, the Dampire one is the most unique one out of the three that they showed off, because Hex Blood, that's just a classic changeling, and Reborn is, you're a Warforged, but not. Congrats.
Yeah, I feel like the other two are a little more generic. Like, yes, they have all these extra flavors that you can roll on these things. Neat. Like the Reborn. You're effectively a Warforged or something of the similar. That's kind of cool.
You're a Warforged that fits in other settings.
Yeah. It just is. They're trying something new, and I think it's not great, but at least it's a step in the right direction. I don't know if they're gonna fix
I think it's Wizards not wanting to go so far as to upset people, but not going far enough where everyone's just like, this doesn't seem necessary, or you could have done a little bit more. Because obviously Wizards is like a multi-billion-dollar company, international markets. They kind of have to be a little careful with their changes.
Yes.
If they change too fast, they could piss off a lot of people. If they're too slow and they keep things to change, they'll piss off a lot of people.
The thing is, there's also some changes which I feel like they don't need.
Yeah.
So yeah, they got the Ravenloft book, though, that's going to have traveling between the domains, talking about the domains, some new backgrounds, and I like Gothic trinkets.
Oh, I didn't read the Gothic trinkets part.
Well, they say
yet,
trinkets
like
themed specifically for a horror setting, so I'm
like, hell yeah.
I
know that there's the two subclasses, too. The Undying, which is... When it was a UA, it was really broken, so I hope they balanced it. But the Bard College, you're just like a medium, and I think that's actually really neat.
Yeah. More stuff on Dark Gifts. Some more monsters are always good, and they say they have an adventure in there, and I'm curious as to what kind of adventure it would be.
I hope. I'm wondering if it'll be something set maybe after Curse of Strahd, or something that could be run after Curse of Strahd, because that's kind of their Ravenloft adventure is Curse of Strahd, obviously.
Yeah.
And if it is, that will be a little disappointing to me, because I have fundamental issues with Curse of Strahd, but I think a lot of those came from I just had a really bad experience with it. But I would like a 1 to 5 adventure in Ravenloft rather than like a 1 to 10.
Yeah. Just a small side note. I gotta be honest here. I like the normal cover rather than the alt cover.
Oh yeah, the alt cover is not good. I really like the normal book cover.
Like a lot of the alt covers I kind of do like. Like I've talked with this about Joe. Like sometimes they have a lot of really cool alternate covers. This one is no.
Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
I get the idea, but it's I definitely like the normal cover.
Will they stat out the Dark Lords?
Will they start out the? I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
The Dark Lords.
Do
we have Strahd stats in Curse of Strahd?
We do have Strahd stats. I have used them for custom monsters before. Strahd is very strong. He's a CR-15 monster. I'll put it that way. So I imagine the other Dreadlords or Dark Lords, whatever they're called, will be like that. Maybe some will be weaker than others. Some will be really strong. Maybe Strahd's just the middle ground because he's a level 10 boss, effectively.
Yeah. I feel like that might be appropriate, that he's kind of the middle ground there. He's kind of your standard one. I would be curious if they statted out more of them, because, again, like, Curse of Strahd does lead up you technically to fighting him. Technically, you're just supposed to have all this stuff which gives you huge edges against him. Theoretically.
Yeah, or you cheese it because the DM forgets sneaking is a thing and rolls real bad, and you just stake Strahd and his heart lays in his coffin and he's paralyzed. Because that's the vampire weakness. That's on his stat block. And you go throw him in a river so he melts.
Or you come up with an interesting way that perhaps they could finish him off, but then things happen, so you have to fast forward through the ending and not be able to do it. Where they place the soul of the dead girl, who's the reincarnation of Strahd's old girlfriend, in a flesh golem body, then create some kind of like basically sealing doll, so that they like use her to kill him, but at the right moment seal his soul away in something.
Or they take too many dark gifts and just ruin the campaign.
I mean, they did a lot of that too. All of the above. And also, one of them gets bitten by a werewolf and then pisses off Strahd and faces him down and dies to Strahd, getting turned into a vampire, because Strahd would have found that hilarious. You've got a lot of, like, gumption. Well, now you can be a vampire. Oh, wait, you're also a werewolf? Well...
It'll never not be funny to me that the solution when Strahd is trying to get the person he's, like, obsessed with, one of the players I was with was like, I'm gonna punch her and knock her out, and Strahd just kills him immediately.
Man, Curse of Strahd. Yeah.
It's got its up and downs.
I think that's one of the reasons I think that I agree with you. I'm worried. I'm a little worried about this. Hopeful, but a little worried.
I'm cautiously excited. I want to see the other worlds.
It makes me cautiously optimistic for that Spelljammer book to come out.
Yeah, maybe we'll get Spelljammer one day.
Freaking spaceships, the Nautilus ships have showed up in 2 places, and Spelljamming stuff has showed up in multiple places, so it sort of exists.
It's there. They could do their book about it, but Curse of Strahd is, the Ravenloft is a very popular thing people like, so it makes sense that they're handling this now. But they did Eberron first, which I don't think anyone cares about Eberron.
It's surprisingly popular in some circles.
Is it? I've never really seen many people interested in it.
I've talked to some people that really liked Eberron before, you know. Like one of the people that I've talked to about this is like I can name like Scott Dalerick, who does stuff on Monster Initiative and stuff like that. He really loves Eberron. You know, so
I know,
and I've talked to some other people about it too.
I mean, if this campaign guide is the quality of Eberron or the Wildmount book, it'll be good. But that's kind of a high quality to kind of live up to.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like other than Faerun, they don't really have as many big popular worlds. You go.
Yeah, Faerun's kind of their big one.
Yeah. And they've got a lot of worlds, thanks to both 2nd edition and 3rd edition introduced some, but...
Yeah. Which is why I kind of have started relying on third-party worlds, which has been very hit or miss.
I don't know. I've used Faerun a lot. I like Pathfinder's World of Golarion, but Golarion sometimes feels like a weird own thing that's got some similarities to Faerun, you know? So I think that's the problem I usually have with it.
I've said this before. Having played, like, I don't know, we're probably halfway through, like, Carrion Crown at this point. I like Ustalov as a setting. And there's not really a good equivalent to that in 5e.
No. I feel like...
Which is kind of a shame.
Yeah. I think some of their settings are done better than what's in Faerun because I guess they're written for adventuring in them rather than being created as part of, let's say, a storyline that R.A. Salvador keeps writing about.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm. He's just like, I'm writing about something for my book. There we go, it exists. And then, like, D&D's like, okay, I guess we're including that. Faerun's
whereas, like, yeah, and just, like, looking into the other... Because I haven't looked too deep into Ustalov, because I don't want to accidentally spoil something.
Yeah.
But looking into the other Pathfinder, like, countries in Galoria, I kind of like quite a bit of them. I really like the Shackles. That's
Shackles
one I looked into
really
a
cool.
bit.
There's a couple other realms that I think are really neat that I've heard, like, that have been in other adventures I've been, or at least kind of mentioned in them. There's the land that, like, there's an entire adventure of that's got like a permanent hurricane over top of it.
Oh yeah, that one's really cool. I was looking into that a little bit. I really like the idea of the world wound. I really like having something set up there could be really fun.
Yeah, there's some very neat worlds out there, definitely, or lands out there in Golarion, and I feel like that's why they. Is it better? Was it worse than Faerun? I don't know.
I think it's different and it has things that Faerun doesn't have in that because of that 5e is kind of lacking in diversity.
Yes, I can see that. 5e. We've had our discussions about 5e versus Pathfinder, though, and I'll continue to have those discussions.
More than a few.
They're very different.
We could, if you want to, Umber, we could go into like classic D&D and melt you again.
No thanks. One melting was plenty.
I mean, like, God.
Sure you don't want to use Thaco?
I'm absolutely certain I never want to hear that name again.
It's one of those things is like, if someone told me they were going to run an AD&D one-shot and they wanted me to be in it, I would probably do it. I gotta be honest. I know this, because, like, I know the systems aren't great, but I know the systems at least. I played with them back in the day, so I could do it, you know? And a one-shot's a one-shot. You usually don't have to worry about, like, the problems with the mechanics.
And you could be as silly as you want in a one-shot, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Man. Certainly do miss some of those 3rd edition days, though, too.
Yeah, I miss some of my early Pathfinder days. I'm going to get more into some... I need to get into Pathfinder 2e. I just need to do it already.
I gotta be honest, I also would like to one day play in 4th edition on Roll20, because again, I think Roll20 is the perfect
Oh yeah,
4th edition.
I think Roll20 would fit well for 4th.
Yeah, 4th edition had issues, had big issues, but the parts of it that were good, I did like.
Yeah.
The board game aspect of it, like the idea that you had to like that you had such heavy board manipulation. It was fun to think about that, to like have that kind of mindset. I gotta say about that, and it added up a lot of tactics in interesting ways about using your environment a lot more. I mean, like, I can remember in our adventure that we did, we roasted an enemy alive because we surrounded them and shoved them into a fire.
Nice.
And no one could get out. And the guy couldn't be like, and we're just like, the one person was just like defending and absorbing all their attacks and being like, nope, you just keep burning, don't worry about it.
I made a ruling. Maybe I shouldn't have when I was running my one shot of the our paladin tried to like charge at a gelatinous cube because he'd never seen a gelatinous cube before. He's very new to D&D, and I'm like, all right, you could try. Okay, the gelatinous cube absorbs you.
Gelatinous cubes.
One of my favorite monsters. I love oozes. There needs to be more oozes. Give me more. I need my slimes.
I think they need more monsters.
Yeah, we do. Oh no.
4 of them? No,
4.
4 of them.
Oh.
Yeah.
Good God.
Wow.
That's a lot of them.
You don't
Like
have
all
all in chat right now.
No, unfortunately. I should probably make Lightning a mod. Honestly. He hangs around enough. Then I wouldn't have to do these manually in between each of them.
I did get to use an Ublex for the first time though. That was fun. But yeah, we need more monsters in 5e. I've been looking over the bestiary. There's a lot of gaps.
Yeah. That thing is, like, I like when some of the books add monsters, but, like, I feel like none of them add, like, enough that, like, a bestiary would add or something.
Yeah, I think there just needs to be, like, another monster manual. Just release, like,
there you go. I've granted moderator powers to Lightning.
It's technically the 4th monster manual, because they have Volos and Mordenkainen's.
Yeah, but I feel like those are sort of, like, they're sort of there, but yet not as there as I'd like them to be either.
Yeah. I mean, it did give me the ability to play as a weird half-snake person, so...
There we go. At least I got rid of those 4.
Good.
You don't need commands at all. You can just click on the name, Lightning.
Yeah, if you go into, you should see something called mod view. It's much better if you do it there.
Oh, see, yeah, like I'm just in chat.
You can
I was
go
doing
into
it
mod view to do it, or like if you just want to stay in normal view because they do look different. You can just click on their names, and now that you have mod powers, they'll be a band.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Like there'll be this power will exist, and then Lightning can take care of it, and I don't have to worry about as much of it.
Indeed.
Hopefully. If they show up, 4 of them showed up at once.
That's a lot.
That was a lot.
Yeah, that's fair. Mod view can be a bit much. I guess I've just gotten used to it after like 4 years of modding for Jess.
But all right. Let us continue on some discussions that we have here, because I do want to talk a little bit about just 2 bits of RPG, just other RPG news other than freaking D&D. 2 interesting things. First off, one of my favorite things that we do is some of these interesting Quickstart rules that Modiphius came out with. Hey, they're offering them free. Achtung Cthulhu,
I love
which
that
is an
name.
alternate World War II RPG with Cthulhu in it.
Nice.
Wait, what?
Yeah, it's supposed to be like, I guess, Nazis are trying to summon Cthulhu or something, and you're trying to stop them, that kind of thing.
I'm into it.
Hold on, I think my brain died. Who is summoning Cthulhu, and what is this?
The Nazis.
The Nazis are summoning Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Is this a board game?
It's an RPG.
I think there's also video games called it, right?
There might have been a video game that was out, also that's been out and stuff now that they're putting out with it. But, yeah, you're joining a band of intrepid allied agents as they investigate a mystery gripping this obscure corner of France. Nazi Black Sun. Why they're at French village, why they're imprisoning people in the chateau, and what ancient mysteries are there, what occult things are they attempting to summon, etc., etc. The usual.
All right, then.
There's some weird stuff with Lovecraft board games, man.
Yeah.
And tabletop.
Yeah.
Fair.
I mean, this is one of those ones that I have enjoyed seeing stuff on, just because it seems like such an interesting suit. It's like Call of Cthulhu meets World War. It is Call of Cthulhu meets World War II.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Man, Call of Cthulhu is something I need to get more into. I've only done 1 game.
I would like to try it at some point in time.
kind of not easy to do digitally because you have to have props and stuff for people to like look at.
I've heard of that, but it's not as good digitally. But still, I would like to try it at some point in time.
Yeah.
The other RPG thing that I want to talk about is I'm gonna probably link this one in chat because it's an interesting one. Iron Kingdom's Requiem Mechanica. It's Iron Kingdom's Requiem. It's a steampunk mecha fantasy RPG.
Oh boy.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna just just from that description, this is getting a bookmark.
Steam, clockwork, alchemy, and the essence of storm and the mech are fearsome tools. They're giant robots you build with alchemy and stuff. It seems like.
I really like that.
Well, I guess giant robots are just one of them. But like, Mechana is supposed to be like, steampunk magic technology, but like, giant robots are,
Giant robots are always cool.
An option with this. It's one of those things. It's like, yeah, giant robots are also here, by the way.
Huh.
Yeah.
This looks cool.
Yeah, I'm into it.
Uh-huh.
I mean, anything with robots I'm into.
And a little bit of mixing, a little bit of steampunk and our fantasy with our giant robots,
Yeah.
Always can enjoy that. So they're basically, I don't know when the product line is coming out. It's previewing it, so I'm guessing the product line...
Let's see if it says in the Kickstarter when it's ended.
King's Requiem. They might have, like, on
the updates.
Their page. They're on pre-ordering right now for it.
Well, there was a Kickstarter update a couple of days ago, but it looks like it's just for a character announcement.
Mm-hmm.
Probably a stretch goal was met. No release date listed there.
Man,
let's check the store.
This one picture with like the giant like mecha with like the goblin riding on it. It's like, man,
that's really cool.
You've sold me on a lot of this stuff just by like some of the crazy art style and crap.
I just like the of the page you linked, the second picture where you've got the guy with the lightning glaive.
Yeah, it's so good.
Like covered in capacitors. Like that looks.
I really like that.
I want that. I want the lightning glaive.
Codex Inventory Magica. Housing, rune plate, and capacitors.
So this is a new RPG system, or just somebody's...
It's a campaign setting. So
it's a campaign setting from Privateer Press. I don't know what system it uses.
It's for Iron Kingdoms, for the D20 system.
Okay.
Iron Kingdoms. I have no knowledge about that, but I am...
It's old. It was released in the set, or the system was released in 2004.
Oh, all right. So it could be really fun, but it could also be really clunky.
Well, I think if it's a D20 system, it's probably going to be updated to 5th edition's D20.
Probably.
So I'm guessing that it's the original system was probably what 3rd 3.5 back from the day.
Yeah, that would be around that time.
And now they've updated it probably to 5th edition.
Okay. In 2012, Iron Kings was newly released under a unique D6 system. Okay, so it might be a D6 system now, which I'm okay with. I like D6 systems.
If it's got its own custom system, that's fine.
It's
I have no
closely based on the rules of miniature games like War Machine and Hordes, which I've never heard of.
I know a little bit.
But D6 systems are fun. I like them. They're fine.
Yeah, fair. I'll agree.
Yeah. Not much else to add to that. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's an interesting looking system. They're previewing a bunch of stuff on it. It's like I caught it. They probably throughout the month there probably might have been stuff on it before, but it's sort of like I'm here now, so I can talk about it now. Yeah.
Fair.
So, yep. Cool. Let's do a little board game talking. The only one I have with is I had one board game that I wanted to bring up / card game, and that's one that I gotta blame USAopoly for continuing to whore out themselves in weird ways. Because they're the masters of weird product combos.
Oh, hell yeah. Give me that weirdness.
Marvel Smash Up.
Marvel Smash Up. Okay.
How is this different than normal Smash Up? How are they smashing it up? I'm curious. Okay, I can see now how they're doing it. So it's Masters of Evil, Kree, Ultimate, Sinister Six, S.H.I.E.L.D., Hydra, Avengers, and Spider-Verse series of characters.
Alright.
And then they're smashing them up, I guess.
I know 4 of these.
For the uninitiated, what is Smash Up?
So, good question. That's a good place to start with that I forgot to start out with. So, Smash Up is a game where, if you're talking about the basic Smash Up, it takes 2 usual, like, fantasy or sci-fi groups and creates decks of cards with them. When you start playing a game of Smash Up, everybody draws randomly from these piles to create a deck of 2. Now, granted, you can choose, but random's usually the most fun to do it with, because then you're uncontrolled. There are things like dinosaurs, aliens, fairies, wizards, time travelers is a faction that... from expansions, too.
There's a Munchkin one. I'm just looking at all the sets they have. I really like this one called Monster Smash.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great name.
There's like a pretty princess one that introduced like weird things. Oh, there's also like robots and stuff. I could probably look up all the Smash Up factions.
Cthulhu sets. There's a penguin. There's a penguin one. Oh my god.
Very good, very good. Is it just penguins?
Smash Up Penguins includes penguins.
I'm glad the Smash Up
Penguins. Yeah, let's hear it.
The
core set had aliens, dinosaurs, ninjas, pirates, robots, tricksters, which are kind of like little fae, wizards, and zombies. They added then, in the next expansion, bear cavalry, ghosts, killer plants, and steampunk. And they added Ellerthrings, Innsmouth, Minions of Cthulhu, and Miskatonic University from Cthulhu. Their sci-fi had cyber apes, shapeshifters, super spies, time travelers.
Oh, hell yeah.
Their Monster Smash had giant ants, mad scientists, vampires, and werewolves. The Pretty Smash Up had fairies, kitty cats, mythical horses, and princesses.
Just keep getting better and better.
Okay.
They had a Munchkin one, which had clerics, dwarves, elves, halflings, mages, orcs, thieves, and warriors. Then it's called It's Your Fault, which had dragons, mythic geeks, sharks, superheroes, and tornadoes. like actual just tornadoes.
I love that one.
the mythic Greek. Oh, mythic Greeks. I said geeks. Oh wow.
And then sharks and tornadoes. Where have I seen that one before?
Cease and Desist, which was Astronites, Changer Bots, Ignobles, and Star Roamers. Oh god, Changer Bots, Transformers. What were we thinking? Explorers, grannies, rock stars, and teddy bears. Big in Japan, itty critters, kaiju, magical girls, and mega troopers. They had sheep. Okay. The 70s expansion, which introduced disco dancers, kung fu fighters, truckers, and vigilantes.
I am so beyond lost at this point.
It's pure madness.
It is really pure madness.
It's madness.
But apparently in the Marvel one, they're specifically doing Marvel stuff and introducing Avengers, Hydra, Kree, Masters of Evil, S.H.I.E.L.D., Sinister Six, Spider-Verse, and Ultimates, which, if you do not know, are all Marvel factions. I can give some basic descriptions of all of them. Avengers are the Avengers. Hydra's like they're the anti, they're like secret agent-y evil side, Kree are aliens. Masters of Evil, I think, are like anti-Avengers kind of. S.H.I.E.L.D's the secret agent group. Sinister Six are the enemies of Spider-Man. Spider-Verse, I'm assuming, are Spider-Man and his friends.
Yeah, and then, it's all the alternate versions of Spider-Man.
Yeah, and then Ultimates is, I don't know, something. I don't know what they really want for Ultimates.
I only know, 3 of them.
Well, this is certainly a thing.
Yeah, it exists. I'll give it that.
But it's like it's very specific.
It's silly enough. I would be into it.
I can understand being into it too, you know. But it is like one of those things of like when you have the oddly specific groups.
Yeah, if it was things I understood, because I don't know anything about Marvel. Marvel's not my cup of tea.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it sounds interesting. It sounds like a great thing to play while you are both high and drunk.
Oh, probably.
But as a board game, just to play on its own, it doesn't really.
I assume it's like a party game.
Yeah.
Smash Up is very party game. Smash Up's fun.
It's more party game.
That makes sense. Because yeah, like I was sitting here trying to compare it. Well, actually, not compare it really. I was trying to think of any scenario in which I'd be like, guys, I want to play some Smash Up, and I couldn't come up with one. I
don't know any
Secret Hitler, Codenames, House in the Hill.
I don't know any scenario where I would look at, like, if I had all my party games together and I would look at them and I just wouldn't pick out Coup, the best card game.
I gotta be honest though, like if I had a pile of board games and like I hadn't played it in a while, I might choose Smash Up. I played it before.
Yeah,
it's
fair.
Fun. It's a fun game. It's like we're not giving the game any what's the word I'm looking for? We're not giving it a lot of creed. Like it's a lot of craziness because like there's like a bajillion factions. So like if I was playing on Tabletop Simulator, I certainly would have access to all these factions, and everybody could choose from the mix and match of like the madness of everything, and then you'd have like really weird combinations of teams. Because it's the idea of like yes, there's the one that has like the tornadoes and sharks, so you could have a Sharknado. Or the thing is, you could technically have like their version of Transformers and tornadoes. So, Transformer-nado. I don't know. Or like alien dinosaurs. You can come up with like really weird combinations, and sometimes they work together better.
Yeah, that could be fun. Sometimes silly party games are just good to bust out with your group of friends that you haven't seen in a year.
Yeah, and I gotta tell you, each of the decks, at least a lot of the ones I've played, plays differently. That was one of those things, is they have like different strategies on how they work a lot of times. So is it the top tier board game? No, I will definitely not argue with that. Like when you mentioned like Codenames, Secret Hitler, Betrayal at House in the Hill, those are probably higher up on me. Red Dragon Inn's probably higher up on my list.
Yeah.
Even Munchkin might be higher up on my list, and that's a quagmire.
Oh yeah, Munchkin. It's a time.
It's a fun time, but it is also like a thing that exists in such a way.
I'll always bust out the social deduction games before I bust out a silly smash up card game.
See, I love my social deduction games. Like that is, I love them.
I'm gonna
blame it off because they also seem to have a tendency to make people mad because people can't.
Yeah,
hey, it's a game.
I mean, like,
with your friends.
I always feel bad when I play Project Winter and I have to lie to everyone and I beat them and then they scream at me because they don't understand it's a game.
See, that's exactly it. Like, I love that aspect. Well, not the screaming part, obviously. I'm love
always evil, so it's okay.
I love the subterfuge, the try and figure out who it is, or if I'm the bad guy, lying and cheating as hard as I can, and then. The assumption is that everyone's like, all right, it's a game. At some point they'll get to do it, and everyone. It's supposed to be lighthearted, but people, unfortunately, I think part of it has
to take it personally.
Well, yeah, I think part of it has to do with everyone being stuck inside alone for like.
Yeah.
Everyone, like, mental health is not doing great for a lot of people in general, and those sort of games make it a bit easier to.
You could lose your cool.
Yeah, which is unfortunate.
You need a good team of people to play with.
I'm gonna, one of these days, I'm gonna like organize some tabletop. We're just gonna play a game of Coup Reformation, and we can just kill each other, with political simulator card game, where you just have to lie and pay money to kill your friend.
Good, like it.
Very important. Sometimes you just have to lie and pay money to kill your friends.
Yeah.
Yep. And then sometimes you have so much money that you know, one guy's upset you and you're both on the opposite team, and then you look at your buddy across the table, you coup that guy, and then your friend comes over and just stabs him and kills him. You beat him to death with your bags of money.
I like this. Very good.
It's a fun card game. It's very good.
It's very important to beat him to death with your bags of money.
Mm-hmm.
But
how else would you kill somebody? Obviously.
Exactly.
So like another weird brand product from USAopoly, they do all these like, you know, they do actual Monopolies, because like one of the I wasn't even to mention it, but now like I'm like they did a Care Bears Monopoly just last month. I'm like, Care Bears?
There's a I mean, eventually there's gonna just be a Monopoly board for everything, right?
They do Monopoly for everything, and USAopoly is just like they're doing more of them. They're just like, you know what you need? We need more of them.
You know what? I'm going to talk about this. This is something I saw years ago. There's a D-Day Monopoly board. That's a thing that exists.
Yup.
For some reason.
Mm-hmm.
Hasbro was like, yeah, that's fine.
What?
Yeah, there's a D-Day themed Monopoly board.
I mean, I got to say, they do some good things over at USAopoly, some very interesting things, but then they just do some weird shit, too.
Monopoly, first of all, Monopoly's a terrible board game.
Yeah. Look, we had an episode where we talked about, they did a puppet Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, you know, the old one, Operation, where they're cutting open the Yeti.
Oh my goodness.
Where they're like doing Operation on their Yeti, Bumble.
Oh no! What happened to Bumble?
He's got all these problems. They gotta like pull his tooth or something. I don't know, and like take out his kneecap because it's got like a toy shoved up in there.
God, the poor Yeti.
Wasn't he evil or something? I don't remember.
I mean,
no,
probably.
No, the Yeti just had it.
He's
literally, if you go to the movie, like the movie version, he had a toothache.
Yeah, that's why he was angry all the time.
And he was angry because of the toothache, and he was trying to get somebody to help him with the toothache, and the fucking I think it was the
it was the elf that wanted to be a dentist then that helped him out.
Or no, the elf that wanted to be the dentist. There you go.
It was an elf that wanted to be a dentist.
Like, hold up, this guy just has a toothache. Yeah.
God.
They also brought us Disney code names, Disney Munchkin.
Disney code names.
Yep.
There's so many versions of Munchkin, though. No.
Oh, there's a billion versions of Munchkin.
There's a Critical Role one now. That's weird to me.
The Critical Role product line is always so weird to me. Like, some of them make sense. Like, as much as I don't know about it, them going along and doing things like the Acquisitions Incorporated and Critical Role D&D books, I'll give you that. Okay. They do D&D for both of those. You know, that's not a stretch. Munchkin?
The Munchkin's a weird one. They have their own card game now that they're releasing. It's weird. And I watch Critical Role and I don't understand it.
I watched some episodes many years ago, and then I was just like, you know what? No. Just no. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's a hard thing to get people into when at least campaign 2 is at this point 124 episodes. It was only
like 50 episodes back in that day, but I tried to go through it and I'm like, this is not great enough for me to go through 50 episodes.
It's a lot now.
Mm-hmm. Now it's even worse.
The episodes average like 4 hours, and some of them are 6 hours.
But yeah, so USAopoly, more weird products. We had one that Momo was going to talk about.
Yeah. All right. So this was announced. I actually missed this announcement when it first came out, but there is a new expansion for the Red Dragon Inn, which is absolutely one of my favorite games because it's literally a card role-playing game about getting shit-faced.
Mm-hmm.
And fighting each other, and it's really good. This new expansion introduces the concept of a pub crawl and a bunch of new characters who are one's a goblin. That's cool. But the concept of the pub crawl I actually really like is in normal Red Dragon Inn. You would pull a drink card, and some drink cards have what's called a chaser. That would mean, in the context of the normal game, you would just pull another drink card. In this expansion, that pops off a pub crawl where you are forced to move to another tavern with a unique drink deck, and you have to go through every tavern. I think there's like 5 of them before you can get back to the Red Dragon Inn to finish the game. And I really like that concept, because it's more silly fun cards, more wacky characters. There's a goblin who's running from the cops. That's her whole character. She runs a bar and she's running from the cops. There's a priest. There's a priest character. There's a bookie who like books fights between customers in like a fighting ring. And then there's just a half-orc who makes coffee.
Again, the characters are just so weird. Like, there's the wizard with the rabbit, which is like high and evil.
There's
a picture on the Kickstarter of the pixie who's literally bathing in alcohol.
Yeah, yep. It's a very silly game that's made even better if you roleplay your character.
Mm-hmm.
But it's good that they're getting expansions, because if you've never played it, I highly recommend trying it. And the games can last for a while too.
Oh god, Phil Startusk.
Yeah, Phil Startusk,
coffee guy.
Yeah, the coffee guy's so good.
It's a terrible Starbucks ripoff, and it's so wonderful. Oh god, that's very silly. Oh. I like Red Dragon Inn. Man.
What I've seen, I've seen some of the cards. One of the Lucky the Goblin barkeep. One of her cards is she just like opens a keg and lights a person on fire, and they lose fortitude.
Good adventures.
Yeah. It's met its goal. It smashed its goal. It's so good.
I forgot Kickstarters don't work on Firefox for me. I've never fixed that.
Yeah, that's weird.
One day I will fix that. One day. Well, I don't know if there's anything else to talk about. Honestly, I would go over my week in tabletop, but I've had like 4 weeks in tabletop, so a lot of shit happened. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about the games I technically will be in and will have, and these people can do the same if they want to.
Oh, yeah, sure.
So, if you're looking for games I'm running, currently I am running a 5th edition D&D game on Mondays, 1 p.m. EST, Records of Evil. We're on the back end of the adventure, Lawful Evil, Serpents Phasmodius, Modern Day Faerun, pretty fun there. Tuesdays, 2 p.m., Legacies of Kain. It's a Vampire the Masquerade game. That one's
very fun. Come watch.
It is a very decent one.
It's a good time. Umber plays a really good character. You should watch.
Aww.
That way they're dealing with like weird underworld problems and searching for stuff and other strange things that are happening. And we had like a recap adventure this week. So it might be good to watch that and catch up on what happened over 70 episodes that we had of that one.
Yeah.
It's been a long one. Then I do run a Pathfinder 1st edition game, which you probably will hear about here. I'll probably tell people about it. But that one's not on stream. But that's a fun one. With both these people in that game.
Yeah, I have a fun time in it. And all the chaos that ensues with our weird-ass characters.
Heck you, I'm not weird. You're weird.
It's taken a bit to get used to going backwards to Pathfinder 1st edition after not doing it for a couple of years. But we're doing pretty decently now and getting into it.
Yeah, Shore Lightning, normal. I see through your lies.
These are just very terrible lies from...
I see through the lies of the Jedi.
Then I'm also running Children of Wrath on Thursdays at 8 p.m. EST. That's a D&D game set in Magic the Gathering world. It's Dominaria. Been doing a lot of weird adventures there, interesting things. Pretty fun time. So I definitely recommend that one. Then games that I'm a player in. Ooh, wow. I've got 4 now that I'm going to be a player in. I'm just starting up another one tomorrow.
Ooh,
Today,
fancy.
later on, Lightning in chat will be running a game with us. That's just for fun in Lightning's world. That's fun. We have some good times. Me and Momo and Joe, and we're getting a Plex.
Yeah.
Then tomorrow I will be playing a Luxodon Druid. Also off stream. The only one that's on stream I think is the Star Trek one, but that one's going to be interesting. That's another 5e game. Monday nights I do a 2nd edition Pathfinder game, which has been fun. We're doing like the first adventure path in Pathfinder 2nd edition. I think that's what it is. I have no idea the storyline. I just babysit the other characters.
Oh god, I feel that in one of my games.
Like, there's a couple of characters that don't need babysitting, and then there's a couple that need babysitting severely.
God, my artificers in my one game is the party babysitter.
It's like 2 of the characters that can be like, you guys can handle yourselves, and they're like, yes, and then the other 2 are like, ooh, what's this? I'm gonna eat it, and I'm like, no, don't eat that, no, we killed it. It's a frog person. We can probably cook it. Frog's legs. And I'm like, no,
yeah, that's fine.
No, let's not do that.
That's all right.
We have better food to eat. Let's worry about that first, and then if we are really hungry and desperate, we can go back to that. And then I'm doing a Star Trek game, which we had the first session of on Funny One's channel on last Tuesday night. That was a fun one.
Yeah. Look forward to hearing many tales of Star Trek adventures.
So far, I got on board a ship where I got a promotion, so I'm a lieutenant now, and I'm the chief medical officer, so I've got, like, responsibility, and then I can also be, like... And the big thing about my character is I'm a Gorn, so I'm a giant lizard man who's, like, 8 foot tall, 9 foot tall, and the thing is, if you come to me with an injury, just hope it's not a scrape or a bruise, because I'm not stopping that thing. You can just live with that shit, man.
Just put some dirt in it. It'll be fine. Stop crying.
Yeah, you'll be fine. Nothing broken. No major bleeding. You'll be fine.
Walk it off.
The blood's on the inside of the body. That's where it's meant to be.
The blood's on the inside of the body. Your weak non-reptilian skin hasn't been torn open. Don't worry.
All you gotta do is memorize the XCOM medic voice lines, and you're set. Just rub some dirt in it, you wimp. Oh, this is gonna hurt.
I'm also, like, an expert surgeon. I have, like, nearly maximum security, and I took a couple of powers that make me a tank. So the entire thing will be like, someone will come up and fight me, and I'll be like, please stop that. Please stop. No, I don't want to hurt you. Please no. Karate chop. All right, you're dead. Or down. Yep. I really just... It's the doctor that could be out there in the field and help out, probably.
Yeah, probably.
It'll be fun. I'm waiting for that character support. Do some silly stuff. How about you two? Any interesting games that I haven't talked about that you're involved in?
Well, aside from, obviously, the records and Pathfinder, I am in 2 games that alternate on Thursdays. They're off-stream. I play some weird characters in them, I'll be honest. That's kind of my thing, is weird characters. Who could have guessed?
Weird?
I know, right?
What? No.
Definitely not weird at all. No, I'm fine.
Yeah.
It's been fun adventure times in those. I've got some of my good buddies in my 5e Thursday game. I died in the first session, but then was brought back by my god, and now I'm a seraph in that game. And also a drow, because reincarnation can fucking die for making me roll on a table to pick my new race. I ran a one-shot for myself and some others last Thursday, actually. It went pretty well. Lindsay, who's a player on Tantus's channel, emotionally scarred the Archbishop of the city 3 times. So that was fun. I'll be starting running a full game on Fridays. I need to get all the kinks worked out on that one. And I need to find people still. I think I have 3 so far. I need 5. And then I've obviously been Lightning's game, as was mentioned. I play definitely a normal elf. Nothing weird about that.
Completely normal.
Completely
Nothing
normal.
weird.
Very normal.
Do not
Completely
mind
fine.
strange thing going on in background. Not
Yeah, no, it's
strange
fine.
at all.
No, don't get weird. This mask is normal. Don't worry about it.
And you just kind
Don't worry about the skull that's in my backpack. Just shush. You don't see it.
Do not mind horrible amounts of human skulls in collection. This is part of normal collection of bones. Was found, not created.
It's completely fine. It's not evil. It's not cursed. It's my comfort skull.
Mm-hmm.
It's my emotional support skull. I need it.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, I mostly run one-shots. And they go fine.
Yeah.
I'll be running more eventually.
And Tantus has already covered every game I'm in. Because,
yes,
oddly enough, any game I'm in, pretty much, Tantus is also in, so...
At least as of right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, good times. Good
I
times.
have more fun playing with people I know. Like,
That's honestly
oddly
fair.
enough, like, the first time in forever that I'd branched out, and it was also the first time in ages that I actually played D&D, was to join up with Tantus and Jess and Carpe to play vampires, and then since then it's just every game I'm in, Tantus is also in, because I know Tantus and I've met other people through Tantus, Lightning being one of them.
All games but one have Jess in them for me. I'm in like 4 games with Jess. It's
Jess
weird.
is fun to play with when she's functioning correctly.
Yeah, hopefully she'll be back. I miss her and our stupid fun antics in Pathfinder Land.
Yeah, hopefully she'll be feeling better.
Like
everything
like
will stabilize.
almost dying while the party healer was almost dying from mummy rot.
Yeah, there was a lot of interesting adventures that you've had, and hopefully a lot of interesting adventures to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I think I'm just gonna leave it there because we've been going about an hour and a half, and as much as I would like to go a lot extra, I mean, the fact is, as I said earlier, it's hard to like just pick and choose a lot of stuff after a month. So, whatever seemed the biggest, more interesting stories, I kind of covered here, and we kind of talked about. So, I hope you enjoyed the show. Thank you, Momo. Thank you, Umber, for joining me today.
Well, of course.
Yeah, no problem.
I don't know. I'm gonna try to be back next week. You know, I'm gonna play each week by ear at this point in time because again, like Joe's on a hiatus for I don't know how long. He's helping out family basically on Saturdays now because he works during the week and he's got to take care of a lot of stuff to help them out after the loss that's affected them. So it's a lot of work on his end. So I got to respect him doing that and helping out family. So hopefully I'll get some more people on to be guest hosts. Maybe I'll arrange some guests at some point in time. We'll find out. I'll see, but I don't know my schedule right now. I'm playing it by ear too because again I've been sick. So if you're not part of my Discord, you haven't seen that I did test positive for coronavirus. That's probably what I got, and we're gonna play it by ear about how I'm doing on that end. I'm doing okay right now. I'm gonna say that. So not like too worried, but you know, keeping an eye out on everything. Yep. So, but all of you out there, please stay safe, please stay healthy, and stay sane. And hopefully, I'll be back at some point in time, and these people will be back with me at some point in time in the next week or so. You know, we'll see. But until next time, farewell, everybody. Bye bye.